Hey there, friends. Have you ever felt like no one cares about you? No one's there to celebrate you in your highs and your lows. Or when you're really feeling defeated, no one's there to hear you out, to give you a hug, to support you, to tell you that they love you. Today, we want to bring awareness. So we'll be talking about World Suicide Prevention Day and how important that topic is right here on our podcast. So please sit back. Hopefully you can take some notes and enjoy this episode of the Bump Podcast.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Bump Podcast. I'm your host Shamir, here with my co-host and beloved brother Nabil.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us on today's very important episode.
For sure, as you guys heard earlier in the intro, we're going to be talking about National Suicide Prevention Day. It is
World Suicide Prevention
Day. It is, yes, thank you.
It's the world.
Yeah, that's what it actually says online. It is September 10th. Tomorrow, obviously, it's September 11th. Yeah, it kind of sucks that it won't be the day, but you know, we're here present today.
So this episode's still coming out on a really tragic day. What are you going to do?
Anyways, if it's not suicide, someone's killing us. But let's talk about it, you know.
And it's a hard topic to talk about.
For sure. So we're going to...
full disclosure, you know.
We always have it on the link down below, the
suicide prevention hotline.
We aren't doctors. We are not
professionals at all.
This is not professional advice whatsoever. So we will put another disclaimer. I'll find a little lower third or something that says something there as well on the video. But we will touch it diligently with respect to those people out there, whether men or women or whatever you consider yourself to be. We will have respect, but we need to talk about these topics because we want to not only have people become aware of it, but we also want people to understand that there is hope, that there is an ability to overcome these terrible thoughts. And let's just dive into it. Again, thank you for all that have been supporting. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Yes. Turn on the ringle dingle dingle. Yep. Thank you for the support. Follow us on all our social platforms, please.
Yes.
Nabil, go ahead. Do you have any
the basic meaning of it, right?
Thank you.
Suicide is defined as death caused by self-directed injurious behavior with intent to die as a result of the behavior. Even just reading, honestly, it just kind of crushes my soul a little bit.
Sure.
Not to sound dramatic or anything. It's kind of like what I felt in the moment. Where do we start?
Well, first off, we could actually start here. We had an episode last season. It was episode 8. I have it here.
Season
it is. It's titled "Do you have some patience to listen to me?" It's episode 8. After like minute 32, Nabil starts speaking in regards to a coworker of his. Back in the day when he used to work at one of his old jobs, where
we both worked there.
Sure, at
our previous job, but
Nabil had a coworker that was teaching him how to do some new work, and he had a lot of patience. He definitely was a good teacher. Not everybody's a good teacher, but this guy was. Teacher, yeah. And just to sum it up real quick, the guy knew a person that actually committed suicide.
Yes.
And it's definitely, I don't want to complete the whole story, but I want you guys to
definitely
go back
check it out.
And
definitely
check it out. You don't,
so you can see the full context.
Podcast, it's after minute 32. I think it's only like 45-minute podcast, but those last few minutes of the podcast, and Bill goes into a very deep testimony. It was actually one of my favorite podcasts out of all of them, because of that reason. Because obviously we are a podcast that focuses on mental health, on
motivation,
on positivity, anything mental for the most part, and things that we struggle on a daily basis. That's our goal. So the day Nabil told me about, hey, let's record this episode, I got a testimony. It was definitely a hair-raising moment for me. And I'm like, that we had so many ideas at the time as well to record, and we stopped everything we were doing on recording just to record that one and get that one out when we still had other things recorded. And I'm like, we got to release this one like very soon, because again, these are very sensitive topics, but it's topics that definitely need to be talked about.
I mean, that came out back in June, right? So like during mental health awareness.
This was actually 5 months ago. This was in March 20th to be exact.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought it was because I know we did an episode too of Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, which I think that was June.
This definitely was that season. This
also
this
in season 1.
That
this season.
No, yeah, it's this season. Yeah, you see, 2 months ago.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. So we touched upon that topic as well. Again, it's super important. It's something we're passionate about. It's something that I feel like we could still learn from.
Of course.
I think it'll be a never-ending topic as the years go by and as our podcast continues to grow. And we're here to talk about it. We're here to answer questions. We're here to learn because we don't know everything about it. I don't know. Shoot, I don't even feel like I know much of anything when it comes to suicide. All I know is based off of the experiences of the people that have surrounded me or who still surrounds me, based off of people that I know who's definitely gone through it and they've lost loved ones. And it just always pulls on my heartstring, and it's something that, man, if we can just change at least one person's life, I feel like we did what we're trying to always accomplish on this podcast, which is to help you, find better solutions to have a better lifestyle, a healthier lifestyle, a life full of joy and gratitude and love and all that stuff. Obviously not turning a blind eye to the negativity that does surround us, but let's not stay focused on just the negativity, because there are some positive things that surround us too. But this system in the world has created more. They've shed more light on the negative stuff than they do the positive stuff.
For sure.
And we're here to do the opposite.
Exactly. So. Yeah, we can help. If they're going counterclockwise, we're going clockwise for sure.
That's our goal.
I shared in that episode as well, episode 8 of last season, about my suicidal thoughts very long ago. I'll share them today again. For those that didn't listen to that podcast, is there was a time in life where I was living out on the streets and doing a lot of life of crime and whatnot. And I had suicidal thoughts. I put a gun to my head on a couple occasions, and different ways I've thought of taking my life away out of pride and ego and a lot of other negative thoughts. And I understand where there's so much negative in your mind that there's nothing that sees another color other than black or dark. Mm-hmm. In those moments, I think that anybody that's religious, I think that the enemy can definitely take over and lie to you in your head and say things that make you believe that is the only option you have in order to get out of those situations. But again, I think one of the main things really is sometimes people don't see or don't have. I think that this is one of the most important things, your support system around you. If you have one or don't, that is very huge, because the people around you can definitely help you
or
harm you and be like, you're a loser, or you suck, or you're never gonna amount to nothing, or whatever it may be. And there's situations sometimes. This is the thing that we studied in sociology class last year, which was the big problem about mental health and suicidal thoughts is that it is hidden. You can never see it. It can't be measured with even science. You see what I'm saying? So we're at a point in our lives that we're still trying to figure out, okay, what's the best way to cure this situation that so many people within the world are still leaning towards. So it's very hard. But from personal experience, it's definitely a mindset. It's depending what you're feeding yourself at every given moment since that moment starts, or what's building it up to that moment in your life. And you need to just disassociate yourself with those surroundings that are negative, with those thoughts that are negative, in order to, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Because at the end of the day, if you understand that it's wrong to take your life away or to have suicidal thoughts, that means that that's not the way to end your life or to solve this problem, if that's a way to explain it. But you need to understand those things, you know, before it gets to that point. Or I'm assuming if people see the title of our story, of our episode today, they might want to click on it because they're probably seeking some type of help. So at that point, what I say to those people is that, you know, watch all our episodes, watch things that are positive, things that nurture, to cure those feelings of anxiety, depression, hopelessness.
Yeah.
In order to understand that we've been through it, whether Nabil has had, because I know Nabil's had depressive thoughts. I don't know if he's had ever suicidal thoughts. You might be able to share that in a little bit. Yeah. But whatever it's been, I know we've all had negative thoughts, and those things lead to, you know, what in depression, for example, anxiety, it could lead to, you know, eating disorders, sleeping disorders, compulsive disorders as well, that makes you want to do certain things that's not within your normal character on a regular basis. So at the end of the day, just try to investigate, look for help. Don't think that you just are going to close yourself inside a room or inside a place and just continue to have those thoughts. Get out of that. Go outside, go for a walk, talk to people. You know, there's always somebody. Don't ever think that nobody's out there that does not want to hear your problems or your situations. There is someone out there. And, you know, if you don't have the funds to be able to go to a professional therapist or doctor that can help you, you know, try to look for ways to be able to get to that point, because there is ways. Investigate. Again, the suicide hotline is under our description on every platform, and, you know, call them. They might be able to help as well.
They do. You
know,
they actually do. I've had people who have told me. I've even read some articles of different phone calls that people have made.
Wow.
You know, that they're just kind of recorded and whatnot of things that they initially say. For example, I don't want to die, but I don't know how to live. Talking with you may help me feel safe, may help me find an answer. Are you free to talk? Those people are there, so as soon as you answer, they're going to say yes, like, let's talk through it.
Sure.
That's the whole point. They are there to provide the service of, and again, it's free. So they're there to provide the opportunity for you to literally just let it all out, and then they'll be able to go from there with you. I think that something that I was looking up in preparation for today's topic is how important it is for us, all of us. I wish the school systems would tackle this a lot more, how educated we should be about this particular topic, because I feel like a lot of people don't know about it until you start going through it, whether it's in teenage years, which it's pretty common for teenagers to start going through it just because they're going through puberty. They're going through a roller coaster of emotions because they like somebody and that other person doesn't reciprocate the same feelings or doesn't even know of their existence because they're, you know, for whatever reason. And then, of course, once you get to young adulthood and onward, it's just like, wow, you know, especially if you live in one of the big cities, you know, life is go, 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 go. And you barely have time to breathe, to sleep, to eat, nothing. And so you don't have time to appreciate the good stuff around you because you're like, man, tomorrow I got to turn this project in, or I got to, you know, I got to go to the doctor's office because my body's hurting for whatever reason. I got all these bills I can't pay. You know, so what else am I going to do? Oh, well, if I go out and sell drugs and stuff like that, well, guess what? Now I'm going to jail because I couldn't pay my bills. The list goes on and on and on. And so I was reading something here that says, you know, I went ahead and was looking like, why is it important to be educated on suicide? And it says studies show that to reduce suicide rates, there's a SOS program, tendencies, and at the same time increase knowledge about risks, warning signs, and coping skills. So that those are things that we need to be very aware of, attentive of, and just kind of like if you're starting to see certain things, it's like, hey, can I talk to you? Like, what's going on? I literally reached out to a friend just before this recording, They just popped into my head. I'll say it's a God thing, because I don't know. They popped into my head, and I was like, hey, how you been? Because I hadn't heard from them for a while, and I texted them, and it was just crickets.
Right.
I'm like, yo, is everything good? Oh, yeah, sorry, I've just been busy. I'm like, all right, well, how are you mentally and emotionally? And they just wrote me a testament. I'm like, oh, you see?
Right.
Well, look at that. So, you know, I went ahead and talked to him and all that stuff. I'm not really going to get into the details of that because that's personal for them. But it was just interesting because I was just like, you know, this isn't normal for them to not reach out to me. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
So let me see what's going on. And again, I want us, all of us here on the Bump Podcast, to be aware of all these signs. And if you guys see someone that might be going through it, if you're going through it, please comment and share with us.
For sure.
And if you want it in private, of course, message us. You know, DM us on Instagram or personal messages on Facebook or TikTok or whatever. And, you know, whatever we can do to help out, that's what we want to do. That's what we're here for. And to, you know, to educate you guys, and you guys can educate us too. Some of you guys who are watching or listening to this probably have way more traumatic experiences with suicide than we have. You know, we've lost acquaintances, we've lost a couple friends. I can't think of family necessarily, but
of being suicidal.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, this is another thing. I mean, I will not say that it's a cultural thing, but
sometimes it can be.
It can be. And the reason why I say that is that, like, us in Puerto Rico, it's very hard to hear that, like, somebody over there just killed themselves out of depression. The reason why is because there is a lot of coping mechanisms within Latin America that...
Okay, so mention a few for people who don't know.
For example, this is something that's a little bit out of our topic, but still is within
relevant.
The dying, right? School shootings, mass shootings, right? You don't hear that there. You don't hear that
Fights
in Puerto Rico.
Most.
But that's the coping mechanism. People over there bullying and stuff like that ends up in a physical fight, not no stabbings or anything, just literally man to man, woman to woman,
literally
bumping, and that's where the problem ends, and they become friends after, or they just everybody to their separate way, and that's it. You get what I'm saying? Sometimes I've even read before, like cursing, right? Curse words. It's good sometimes to curse, whether you're angry or not, because it lets out that emotional, internal anger or things that resentment you've been holding inside of you. It's scientifically proven. We could talk about that at some other point. And I've read this because I'm like, at one point in life, I was just like, why do I curse so much? Like, what is the main reason? It's not an influence of people. It's just, for some reason, I like it. But
partially because the people around you.
Okay, it can. Yes,
it's
of
partial.
course. Yeah,
it's
for
a
sure.
outlet.
It's a component for sure. But
yeah,
I mean, in my thought process is it that's not really like a solidified component that I could be like, because these people are cursing, I curse. I feel like I like to. You get what I'm saying?
I think most people do.
Right. So then it's just like, okay, so what's the reason? So then when I looked it up, that popped up, and I'm just like, okay, well then this kind of makes sense, because it's just like, most of the time I curse, it's usually like here on the podcast, it's very minimal when I curse, but when I have, it's really to like make something. Yeah, emphasize something and makes a point to it, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So that goes to show that I don't have to be cursing all day long, but then it's just like I'm releasing that anger in words sometimes. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then it's just like, if we go to different types of anger, like, okay, people getting bullied, people getting abused by their parents, whatever it may be. Any
kind of relationship. And I don't mean just like lovey-dovey. I mean like your friends or whatever.
In general. Yes. So then it's just like all these things, I feel like over here, people don't really fist fight like that anymore, and people don't even know. Go to the extreme. You get what I'm saying? Here they just like hold in, and then guess what? It's a volcano. It erupts, but boom, and here we go.
Yeah.
Now you see it on the news. Now, do I believe that there's conspiracies in some of the shootings? For sure. I mean, I think there's a lot of discrepancies, and I know that's definitely government involved for reasons of whatever those may be for them. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is just to give a point out on that, you know what I'm saying? And usually if people were to commit suicide in Puerto Rico, for example, it's very rare. Like, and I'm talking about from like friends, family, like I probably heard one, maybe two people, and sometimes it's just like drug overdoses. So you really don't know if they really were depressed because they weren't. Ain't nobody have nothing to say like, hey, this person texted me this the day before, the night before, whatever. You get what I'm saying? To make sense of what happened, that person ended up overdosing. But again, that's technically self-inflicted in a way.
Yeah,
because
it is.
You ingested the dope, or you however you did it. But just to bring a point is just, there's so many different factors and different ways to see things. Now, my question to you, the viewers, are, what are you guys doing as coping mechanisms? Again, comment down below. We love when you guys comment or write us, because we want to know in order to continue to build off these topics that need to be spoken about. It's like the other day when I sent you the Nicky Jam video on the podcast of what's his name?
Jay Shetty.
We're going to mention you because you're probably the biggest podcast when it comes to mental health.
Oh man.
And
there's so many things that I agree with and also disagree with, but
for sure,
the way he handles everything is just so.
I'm actually gonna order this book. Look, I literally still have
book?
it right. No.
A book.
I have it here. Look.
Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out Jay Shetty, you gotta check him out.
Yeah, check him out.
That monk dude, he knows how to hold a conversation with anybody.
So this book is called The Art of Explanation. It's literally a noun. It says here how to communicate with clarity and confidence. It's something that I want to continue to get better, because sometimes I feel, even here on the podcast or when I'm talking to a person out there for real, I want to be able to bring the points and the conclusions and give strength to my topic sometimes, but sometimes it's hard.
Yeah, I
want to explain something. So I'm gonna get that book, see if it helps me out, because it's definitely something that I want to practice and become better at. Because I feel like my grammar has gotten better throughout the years through reading and stuff, but I want to be able to now explain things in a quicker pace and in a way better manner. But yeah, so back to the podcast of Jay Shetty or whatever. When Nicky Jam said, hey, there's a lot of topics when it comes to the men that they don't talk about. But in general, nowadays, a lot of humans, women and men, are not talking about these topics. They're just holding it in. They're holding their anger. They're holding their sadness, their depression, their anxiety. And it's just like, we can't continue to do this. We need to express ourselves. Why? This is multiple reasons why I say this. Believe it or not, the more we express ourselves, the more we show our emotions and the things that are happening to us, the better science can become behind this, where down the road we could explain maybe 10, 20 years from now what suicide thoughts are truly, what's going on in our brains, how often, how frequent does this happen in people, where we have statistics and it could be like, this is as solid as it gets.
Yeah, exactly.
You get what I'm saying? Now we could fix it by doing this, or avoiding it by doing that, because that's another thing. Can you avoid it 100%? No, it's just impossible. We're not perfect. Exactly. But it's to the point where we could save lives. I firmly believe so, and we could get there. So we need to be able to talk about these things and continue to push forward.
And I don't want to put, first off, I don't want to put any blame, especially the person who is having the suicidal thoughts and actually attempts it, or actually just full on committed to it and they're no longer with us. I want to keep all of us, and I mean all of us, including ourselves, accountable about the people who surround you, whether they're acquaintances, neighbors, family members, friends, whatever, including the people in your own home. Be aware. The signs are pretty frequent. They're pretty obvious most of the time, whether it is self-isolation, whether it is constant sadness, whether it is constant anger, whatever the heck it might be. Like, you don't turn a blind eye to it, because there's people that I know that I've seen that turn a blind eye to it, and it's like, but why? Some of them it's because, I'm dealing with my own problems. That's okay. We all are. We're all dealing with our own problems, but man, even if your own cup is running on empty, you got to be able to pour into that person, because I promise you, if you help that person, your cup will be filled too. Yeah. It's not in a selfish manner. It's literally just how, like, our bodies are, in our minds are just wired. It works because it's happened to me. You know what I mean? I'm going to talk about real quick some of the professions, the different jobs and stuff like that, where it creates such a stressful environment that's where suicide, the ratings for suicide just keep raising higher and higher. For sure. some of this stuff here says, and by the way, in 2021, like the suicide rate went up a lot. I'm not going to go into the specifics of that. Like, you guys can find that, because I just want to touch upon specific things that lead you directly into the reasoning as to why suicide happens. In 2021, the rates among U.S. persons of working age is approximately 33% higher than it was 2 decades ago. Major industry groups with the highest rates include construction, other services, arts and entertainment. And I'm talking about acting, production, all of that stuff. We've heard a whole bunch of celebrities taking their own lives, people behind the cameras taking their own lives. I'm more aware of it because that's the field that I've enjoyed for as long as I can remember. Recreational stuff in agriculture, forestry, fishing, and hunting, like all that stuff. Like, and I feel like this list right here isn't even tackling all of it, because again, a production work, and I don't mean in the entertainment business, I mean in like what we used to do. Whether you're building ambulances, whether you're building different types of boats and yachts and things like that, motor vehicles, cars, and what have you, you have to get the production out so quickly because the demand is there. The sales are constantly there. Marketing and retail, you're constantly having to push calling centers and things like that, where you have to market stuff. Like, you're constantly under pressure. You have no time to breathe. So when you go home, all you're doing is thinking about, what am I going to do the next day to keep up with what I need to keep up, or whatever I fell behind with. Like, I gotta, like, that's not the way we're supposed to live, but this is how the whole system works, where it's just like, it doesn't matter. We're just trying to make dollar bills.
Right.
And no one cares about your own mental health or physical health. And if something happens to you, well, let's get a new person. There's a list of people who wants to join our company anyway, so let's just roll them out. That's crazy to me. And it is part of reality, but it doesn't mean it has to be a part of your reality, because at the end of the day, we have the choice to make whether we want to go down that dark path and stay in that dark path, or try and find the light, no matter how long it takes us to get there.
For sure. Again,
I can't go out a day without prayer, without music to help me out, music especially, and different methods to be able to let my emotions out. I've, like Shamir had mentioned, I've had suicidal thoughts, I think, for the first time in recent months. I'm talking about 5 months, because I was without a job for a while. I haven't been able to have a steady income. I applied to so many places, and it was all constant rejection. Having to see my wife work 2 jobs for a little bit, and it was eating her up. Having car troubles, not being able to pay for gas. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And, you know, it's just, it catches up to you. It's just like, bro, like, what is going on? Like, this world is moving way quicker than I can even wake up and sleep. Like, it's just, it's so overwhelming. So I've had the thoughts, the actions. I don't think I would ever have the balls to do that. That's just me personally, because, you know, because I'm a firm believer in the Lord. I want to be able to leave this earth when He calls me home. You know, I don't want to leave on my own terms, because it's just not the answer. And I know, I know I have people who care about me. I know I have a lot to give to this life, so long as I just stay on this right path and try to look for the light constantly, and try to just find different ways of being able to get through it. And I mean, throughout all these months, I have been able to get through it month by month, but that is a scary part, not knowing what's next, not knowing what's coming, not knowing what's the solution. Yeah. We just kind of don't function that way.
And I think that's it's something that I saw a while back in a comment box that had to do with suicide. Because people have the debate always, is suicide also, is it selfish? And you just said, for example, like, hey, you know, I have people that care for me, you know, and you think that you might not have the balls to do it as well, you know. Maybe it's not even about having the balls. It's maybe about that the situation hasn't gotten to that point that you just don't care, because I could tell you personally, I was literally to that point. I was just like, bro. And then once it happens, let's say for those people that actually have accomplished it, I feel like they knew it was a mistake for the last few seconds they were alive.
Oh, you think so?
I think so, because they'll be like, well, like this actually happened, you know, but after that, we don't know, but this is just my assumption. But
I think there's a few people out there that can attest to that, who realized right then and there, oh, this is really bad. What am I doing? And they were able to get out of it.
And I've seen people that have shot themselves and is still alive and not regretting what they did, but they were just like, you know, I'm alive, I'm blessed, you know, there's a way out of things, you know. And there's a lot of people. You also got to put in perspective how many people are actually going through worse situations than you are, and you're over here just
plenty of people
trying to, you know. That's another thing that you should put in perspective as well when you are thinking of doing something like this, is like, what am I going to accomplish by doing this? Because again, people that truly care about you, that would cry for you if something like that would happen, I think they should be, if they really are that person, they would be there to listen through your problems and your situations. So,
yeah,
you know, that's if they're there for you, you know. That's why, like, constantly I'm checking up on my homeboys and stuff like that, because I know some of them have been down that downward spiral of depression and suicidal thoughts. So I check up on them and I make sure that I do my part, that if something ever were to happen, God bless all their souls, man, that I know I did my part, that I was willing to listen. I was willing to take anything off my back in order to give it to them, so they won't make that decision, you know. And that's just the person I am with the people that are closest to me, especially, you know. I want to read this quote real quick. It says, suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. The reason why I bring that quote up is because if we turn it around, a temporary problem is just a temporary problem, whether big or small, you know, because problem doesn't have a measure of big or small. It's just a problem is a problem, right? And then creating a permanent solution is just like, we don't know what's after this death, truly. If we go through biblical terms, you know what happens to you if you commit suicide.
And now, whether you decide to believe it or not. It's up to you.
Exactly. But let's say if we're not talking about biblical terms, we don't know what's after this. So we don't know if we made the right decision or not. And
you'll find out in the next life somehow.
Or whatever it is that's after this, whether if it's life or not. But at the end of the day, you know, I've learned to understand that there's a lot of things that we consider big until we start to see them for its true size when they're actually small, if that makes sense. What I mean by that, it's like, you know, sometimes we give too much weight on a lot of problems that we shouldn't even give it mind to. So we need to train our brains to see these things for what they truly are, instead of what we project it to be at the moment from our own personal thoughts. You know, and there's just way more solutions. And the reason why I say way more and probably not break them all down is because each person's life is different.
It's a little different, yeah.
And you guys got to understand that too. You see, my outcomes, his outcomes, whether positive or negative in life, are different. So understand that you're different as well. And that you got to push forward, that life continues. And you know, there's crazy, because it's crazy because I've had people in the past tell me, like, whether suicidal thoughts or not, or something similar in between those lines. I've had people that just want to see who's the attention. Have you not seen? I just saw it recently on the TV. It was actually an old lady, but people do this. They fake their deaths and make a funeral to see how many people will actually come to the funeral.
That's crazy. I mean, I guess it's not unheard of, but I haven't seen it, no. So
I'll show you right when we get off of camera, but it's crazy. It was actually... No, I'm lying. It was actually a TV show. It was 911.
Oh.
It was an old lady. This is not... It might be true. Listen, when it's on a TV show, someone in the world has done it. You get what I'm saying? Like, there's no way. Yeah. This woman faked her death and created a funeral to see. She was literally in the box acting like she was dead.
Oh, dang. She went through the whole thing.
The whole thing. She's in there, whatever. And then anyways, you know, she ended up looking and seeing afterwards, like, all the people that appeared, and they were like, whoa, like, you're alive. She's like, yeah, I was just faking my death. But what I'm trying to say is that sometimes there's people that are just seeking the attention to see who's actually there for them in the terrible moments, which is crazy. And I mean, I say it's crazy, but I can also understand why certain people do it, because they want to see truly who's there, or maybe they just want the attention. And what I say to those type of people is, like, there's just so many other ways to find out who's really there for you and who's not. Do different trials of different things, like, you don't have to put yourself through harm or tough situations to see who's there for you. Just simply go with the flow and see, okay, this person's there, this person, I call them, they pick up. If they don't pick up, hey, I'll call you later.
And they actually call you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's like, later on in the day or tomorrow at least, like something.
But, like, people that are not there and at first glance, when you call them or hit them up with the text, that just shows a lot. But also, you got to understand, like, what are you giving to life? Because sometimes people think it's like having good, solid people around them is just a blessing that comes by itself, and that's not true, because you have to work at it and solid invest. You as a person have to be a solid person in order to have solid people around you. Yeah, that's point blank period. Definitely. Because it's like being a cook without practicing. Your food's gonna taste like garbage probably at first, but as you practice and as you put more love and everything into it, things get better. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. But if you don't put practice and if you don't give what you need to give in order to be a good cook, then what are you? You know what I'm saying? And it's like anything in life, you must practice what you profess, or practice what you want to work on in order to receive that in return.
Mm-hmm. So different types of words that you can utilize if someone says they're going to take themselves out of the picture. Be sensitive, but be affirming at whatever it is you're saying, and watch what you're saying too. Don't just be like, oh, that's a stupid idea. Don't do that. Don't be an idiot. Like, bro, use some common sense. And I know it's rare nowadays, but, like, you need to be sensitive with that person, because that person is in a very dark place. And you need to know how to speak to them, and you also have to put yourself in their shoes too and be like, okay, listen, if I was in this deep, dark place, how do I want somebody to talk to me? Because if somebody talks to me sideways like that, like, it might motivate them to really just do the act without thinking about it twice. Because they're like, if this fool's talking to me sideways, then what reason do I have to even be here? So things that are simple to say: please don't hurt yourself. I don't want you to, take yourself out. I would miss you terribly. My life would be less without you. I love you. Just a simple I love you. Like, it's not that hard to do. Or to say sorry. Or embrace them in a hug. Give them that hug. Let them cry on you until there's not a drop of water left in their eye. Just let them get it out, because at the end of the day, that's what they need. And if it needs to happen for an entire week, a month, whatever, you need to make sure you give them the time of day to do it. Sure. So I just wanted to leave that little grain of knowledge for you guys. Again, this is an important topic, ladies and gentlemen. Like, please comment down below. Share your thoughts, your experiences. We want to hear it. We want to learn it. If we got to do another episode in the future to really get a conversation going about this based off of other people's experiences far beyond ours, I mean, we're open to that. No doubt about it. So we hope that this was informative in some way, that this can help you guys, that this brings some sort of awareness. Please, 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 I cannot emphasize it enough to share it. Sure. On your own social media pages, on your wall, whatever it is, just share it with people who have gone through it, people who are in the middle of it, because this needs to be a thing that everyone from all walks of life needs to come across, needs to be educated, and put it into practice ASAP. Mm-hmm. Anything else you want to add to that?
Last quote, and we'll leave it on a good note, hopefully. It says, suicide isn't cowardly. I'll tell you what's cowardly: treating someone so bad that they want to end their lives. Mm-hmm. The reason why I leave it on that is that I know that a lot of the percentage of suicide out there is because someone did something to another person that made that person feel that little, that made them feel like they're not worthy to be alive.
Yep.
Whether if it's bullying in school, that's another thing for the parents out there, for the teachers, anybody that's in charge of this young generation coming up. If you see them going through situations, put a halt to it, put a stop to it, talk to them, conversate. If you see your kids, your son, your daughter going through something, what's going on, like approach it in a manner that is where they can relate to it and are willing to open up to it. Don't approach things in a manner that you're just used to approaching things. You know, I think personally, as as us growing up, we had a good household, but there's to this day things that we don't tell our parents, is, you know, especially we don't tell our parents a lot of things to this day because they have their own way of seeing things in life, and it was always a very selfish, or not selfish, but like very biased, very strong one way point of view, as opposed to an open point of view, willing to listen.
Yeah.
And maybe even willing to learn something from it and talk to us in a different manner that we could comprehend. I think that's something that I'm continuing to grow as I'm a father, is that even my son being 18 months old, I need to teach him, and my woman needs to teach him in a way where if you say, don't do this, that you give him an explanation. Obviously, he doesn't fully understand, but make him understand to the best of his abilities. And as time goes by, where he will understand
more questions and stuff.
Why, you give him a good reason why, as opposed to, no, I just said so.
Because I said so, yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
That's the generation we definitely grew up in.
So then, the thing is, I want to leave it on this note that be that person that nobody was for you. Be that person willing to listen. Be that person willing to speak up and be like, hey, if I see something, let's try to avoid this, as opposed to, oh, this person's depressed, let them just be depressed in their room. You know, if you know a person and they need some time alone, fine, but don't wait too long where it's just like, man, it's been days, it's been hours, or, you know, because that person might be contemplating these things that we're talking about in today's episode. And we want to avoid that as much as possible. So we thank you guys today. It was definitely a very serious topic. For sure. Definitely not much humor to it at all, but we hope you guys liked it. Anybody that might be going through it, please tag them or send them the link to this video. Let's create new habits. Let's create a new atmosphere for the people that are depressed, anxious, going through whatever situation that's tough. Again, we're all human. We all have our problems. We're not just here sitting down and being like, hey, you know, we don't have any problems, and then we walk out that door and it's a total different. Yes, we walk out that door and we have problems just like everybody else does.
For sure.
You know, we didn't sit down here today and be like, oh, we ain't had suicidal thoughts ever. You know, we're just going to create them for the video purposes only. No, we have been through these situations. It's genuine. And when you guys meet us in person, we could definitely talk about anything that you guys want, and know that we're here for each and every one of you guys. So absolutely. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Turn on the ringle dingle dingle. Follow us on all our social platforms. We are live on all of them. We thank you guys. Keep moving forward. Progress to success. Yes. And suicide is not the way. We can get through this together. Yeah, absolutely. And be very vocal, everyone, about it. Let's spread awareness to these things. And again, we thank you guys for tuning in today to another episode of the Bump Podcast. Hopefully you guys have a great week. And you guys take care. See y'all later. See ya.